everyone. Please let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me. So I see some people live, but I'm not sure if the chat is working. So it would be nice to know if I'm live, if it's all good. Just had a bit of emergency, but it's all good now. Okay, it's a nice sunny day. Actually, 2 minutes ago, no, not 2 minutes ago, some 20 minutes ago, we had some rain and it was pretty gloomy, which was fine after several days of, I would say, like big heat. Hi, hi, Misha. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Barbara. Good to see you. I know you've been super busy at work. I hate it when work gets in the way, but this can be helped, right? Yay. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Yay. Okay, we are to start in a few minutes. Just give me a second. Hi, Andy. Hi. Good to see you. Okay, let me check the timing. I'll share with you a funny story. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. We are to begin. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Maria. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Uh, Anna is here finally. Hi, Natalie. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to see you. It's a lovely sunny day, and I'm happy to be here. This is actually where we stopped last time, the 19th century area of Tbilisi. And before we begin, I was so scared that I would actually not make it on time. And the reason is, don't worry, this is actually the reason. As I was on my way for the tour, something happened. That's probably the result of a few rainy days as well. So really, I had an emergency because I couldn't even carry on like with the tour like that because this would definitely have fallen off by the end of the tour. So I had to buy shoes. Mitch, I'm sorry, I had to splash out on shoes. And I know this is a pretty touristy area, so pretty, yeah. So that was a bit costly. So Misha, I'm sorry. It's just it's not really what I planned. So hope Nisha will be okay with it. But anyway, so bye bye the shoes and hello the new ones. Okay, so let me show you. Bye bye the shoes. Yay. Okay, hello the new ones. Well, pretty similar, but just a bit more expensive. But it's okay. So I'm so happy I made it. I'm so happy. Good. So welcome everyone to the beautiful Tbilisi 19th century area, and this is exactly where we stopped last time. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. Well, it happened. That's okay. It could have been worse. It could have happened just uh, during the tour, and that would be awkward and very uncomfortable. Now, we are very close to the Marjanishvili metro station, and I like the vibe of the station. You know, where you have this like transport hubs. There's always trade, a lot of people, and I really like it the way it looks here because they sell, well, apart from the flowers, very cheap, and also even flowers in the pot, which is also nice. Nice potted flowers. They also sell here some books, and I was so happy to see one that's really melt my heart. Well, really, really made my heart melt. And I hope nobody has bought it. Like, not like that I'm actually going to buy it, but yeah, there was one. Oh yeah, there was one. I want to show this to you. Look, Misha, see, this is of course like an old second-hand book about the Hermitage, and this is the Prodigal Son of Rembrandt, just here on the cover, of course. And I recognize all the others. This is so sweet. Yeah, this is like I think this decor is they focus on the Dutch and the well Flemish art. Okay, so and like I recognize the book covers. I recognize it's like were all published in the Soviet times. My grandparents used to have some very similar from this series. Hi, hi, Adrian. Good to see you. Okay, so let me find somewhere quiet. So we've been having already quite a number of tours in this 19th century neighborhood called Chughureti. And Chughureti is a big area, but I would say I would come up with a bit of a probably more exact name for it, Neu Tiflis, which sounds German because it is German. Neu means new, so New Tiflis, and Tiflis is the old name, well, 19th century name of Tbilisi. Well, because they realized, the Belaisians realized that it's just way too complicated to pronounce the B, so that's why it's a Tiflis. And I've been saying 19th century, 19th century, 19th century. However, of course, what you see here is not the 19th century and has nothing to do with Germans. So why does it have to do with Germans? Originally, in the early 19th century, uh, actually hundreds of families from the south in Germany were thinking that the end of the days was very close, like really around the corner, and they decided to leave. And their leaders told them that the savior would be found either very close to the Mount of Olives or Ararat. Ararat Mountain. This is the mountain where, according to tradition, it is believed that Noah's Ark found a safe spot. So they didn't. They couldn't make it to the Ararat in Armenia because of the situation with the Ottomans there. But they came as close as possible. They came to Tiflis, and that's where they settled down and established their colony, a German colony. But if you remember, we have done quite a number of tours about German colonies, not only in Tbilisi but also in Israel. And whenever you just look, I would say, in the city plan of Tiflis, you can easily say that the area of the German colony looks very different. I want to show you something. So this is the map of the older districts of Tbilisi. Quite chaotic, right? Very patchy. Somewhere it's like more densely populated and like has, I would say, even like I would say more buildings. Uh, Quite uneven, I would say, uneven distribution. And this, look at this. So this is exactly the area that was developed by those Germans. All those Germans that came, they had to develop the area from scratch because here used to be just a small village called Kukia, and it was basically, I would say, very rural area. But the Germans, well, look at what they have created, what they had created back then. And of course, well, not this because this is Soviet times, but I'll just go quickly around. Of course, buildings would be rebuilt, destroyed, and built anew. But this is one of those avenues that actually is the heritage of those days, and we will see that many buildings actually have survived to the day. But let me take you again to this Marjanishvili Square. Um, Obviously, those Germans are very religious. Of course, they were persecuted by the Lutheran Church back at home in Swabia, in southern Germany, but they were religious still, and they needed churches. And last weekend, we were in the Peter and Paul Cathedral, Catholic Church, So there were some Catholics as well, the Polish, also the Poles, right? We talked about them because the Polish people were basically dissidents. They were exiled from Poland after the annexation of Poland by the Russian Empire. Those people were against, and they fought against Russian invasion, but they were all captured and exiled as far as possible from their homeland. So those Poles, of course, were Catholics. So now let's talk about the church and like where is the church, right? Actually, it used to be exactly in this square. There you go. So this is exactly the this church, the Lutheran church, German Lutheran church. That's exactly what it was called. And I have some more illustrations. We talked briefly about it last time, but I really thought it would be a good idea to start from this area again. That's what it looked like. Big church. It occupied this entire territory of the square, which is now absolutely empty. So it was destroyed in the 1940s, 1940. And hi Ashred, hi everyone. And unfortunately, it was taken down by the in early 1940s by captive German soldiers, Nazi soldiers, and then those captive the Nazi soldiers were to build these houses. They are from the Soviet times. Look at that. It was a little bit later, but this is the result of that massive changes that took part throughout Tbilisi in the post-war times already. Yes, we just had rain about 20 or 30 minutes ago, which ruined my shoes, I believe, completely. I got new shoes, Ashray. Just 5 minutes before the tour, I had to buy them because the sole almost fell off on one of them. And this is what they built. So the big avenue for the growing city, and the city was growing at a frantic pace. However, it wasn't yet big enough for the metro station because the metro station normally in the Soviet Union there were strict rules that only the cities with, let's say, as minimum as like 1 million population would be getting train stations, metro stations. But because there was one very important Georgian in the government, his name was Joseph Stalin, of course. Joseph Stalin, well, just because he wanted, so if Stalin wants, he gets. And that's exactly what it was. So there was the metro station built, and it's named also after Marjanishvili. And I've mentioned this name so many times, but never really got to explain to you who this Marjanishvili was. So Marjanishvili, Kote Marjanishvili, this is his portrait. Oh, sorry, now we need some shade here. Wait, yeah. So this is Kote Marjanishvili. He was a theater director and he was an outstanding person, incredibly talented. He revolutionized Georgian theater, and his plays were, well, not exactly avant-garde, but definitely a big innovation, I would say, on the stage in Georgia and outside Georgia, obviously outside the Soviet Union. So he is praised, remembered, and his name is now not only on the train station, but just the entire avenue, uh, uh, Marjanishvili Avenue, that goes all the way to, well, just across the square. Hence the name of the subway station. And well, the subway station, I'd like to show you. Obviously, the construction of subway stations is something very big and expensive, and it's all about the innovations in engineering. So the subway station was built at a very quickly, and Stalin was happy. That's for sure. And of course, Soviet's metro is like underground palaces. So that's definitely okay. Let me find a shade. That's better. So that's what it looks like underground. Of course, there was a portrait of Kote Marjanishvili in the train station. Well, in the foyer underground. Pretty deep, more than 50 meters deep for sure. So the avenue was originated exactly the same period when the Germans settled down in Tiflis, and this became the central avenue. In those times, it wasn't called David Agmashenebeli Avenue. So we just talked about the Marjanishvili Avenue, but this avenue is now called after David Agmashenebeli. You might remember the tour of the nice and quiet walking street. Actually, it's the same street. This is a very long one, about 2 kilometers long. So we will definitely return to that nice, cozy neighborhood, but not today, and definitely not the next weekend. The tour of the next weekend is already scheduled. Anayaguide.com is exactly the website where you can find all the links. And also, please don't forget to tip and support. Thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you so much, everyone. So, this neighborhood is now named, this avenue is named after David Agmashenebeli. I would say a very important Tsar of Georgia of the 12th century. This is him, David IV, the builder. So Agmashenebeli means the builder. Don't worry, I don't speak Georgian, so I just know the way it is translated. So he managed to unite many neighborhoods, many lands in Georgia, because back then in Georgia was basically a number of city states, and that was it. Very, very small and thus very vulnerable. It was named after Mikhail, Mikhail Vorontsov, who was the viceroy of the Russian Empire in Georgia. Let me show you his portrait. This is him. Because if you remember, in 1801, Georgia became part of the Russian Empire. And later on, Mikhail Vorontsov would be sent by the Romanovs. Hi, Ronnie, good to see you. Barbara, thank you so much for the coffee so early. Thank you. So Mikhail Vorontsov was appointed by the Romanovs in charge of the entire region. And this main avenue was shortly named after him, Mikhailovsky Avenue. And very from the very beginning, it became the trade center, the very important transport hub. Yeah. And with time, the area, of course, would evolve. And look, by the end of the 19th century, this area turned into a wonderful Art Nouveau neighborhood. Look at this. So this, and of course, all these buildings that have their facade here facing the street, the main road. Everything here would be about the trade. And don't worry, I will be crossing the street, so you'll be able to see the building in full splendor. But there's something else I want to show you, and this is I would say, a secret. Just a secret. I'm not sure if we have enough time now. Can you see the traffic lights? Can you see that? You see it's blinking now, red, and it's not just round red, right? It's not, because it's heart. Can you see the hearts? So this is just, I'm not sure who came up with this idea, but this is like a tiny little secret of Agmashenebeli Avenue. Yeah, this is just a lovely heart. So every building here, okay, I would say, yeah, almost every building in the entire, like on the entire avenue, is a work of art, and many of them are official, monuments, and they're taken care of by the state. And nearly every building can tell you quite a number of stories. For example, while I'm just waiting for the green light, look at that building. So yeah, definitely it stands out because it was built much, much later, I believe, in the Soviet period, and maybe even rebuilt in post-Soviet era. But, well, thanks to some couple of sleepless nights, I would say I was able to find some information about it. So I'm going to cross now, and I'll show you the photo I've been able to find. And as we go, look at the architecture. So this is clearly the imperial times, and this is clearly the European style, and this is clearly work of several German architects and engineers that came back then in the 19th century. So on the spot of that on the spot of this Soviet time building that I just showed you, there used to be this tiny one floor building only. and it used to be pharmacy. Obviously, on such an important transport artery, a building with only one floor, having a building with one floor makes no sense. So I totally understand why this building was taken down. Lovely pharmacy, and by the way, most pharmacies in the entire Tbilisi were owned by Germans, also Jews, also Jews. So every Tbilisi was always a multinational city, if you remember from my numerous tours. And here, I think in the 19th century, in this area, it just it just shows there's something else. Oh, hi, Kitty. This kitty is here. Sorry for the glare. The glare is coming from I'm not even sure where from. Oh yeah, there are lamps. But the kitty is here because she knows, or he knows. I'm sorry, I have no idea. It's a pet shop, so it's a pet shop cat. Hi, pet shop cat. But I came here to show you a little bit of inside. And those of you who watched my previous tour in the church, you may remember this name. So if you know where to look, there is even more history. Hi, kitty. Hi, dear. So it's written here in Russian. Oh, he wants me to strike his rocket. Okay, so Andrea Leti. Andrea Leti is actually an Italian born an entrepreneur, an artist. He was a mosaic artist. And again, as I was saying, that uh, Tbilisi, and of course, especially this avenue, former Mikhailovsky Avenue, and now Agmashenebeli Avenue, it's definitely the quintessence of all the international involvement and heritage that you can find in Georgia and in Tbilisi. So Andrea Leti, an Italian born, also made it to Tiflis and opened a big mosaic shop that, well, thanks to Andrea Leti, not only mosaic but also stonework decorations, they were all supplied by him. Like most of the buildings here, he wasn't a monopolist, but he definitely was the biggest supplier. And if you know where to look for the special marks of the suppliers, then you'll be able to tell even more stories. And I'm so happy that so all this is Andrea Leti, it's original. This is like 1960s, 1970s. Look at these floors. I mean, yes, of course, it's not in the best condition, but an ironwork everywhere. And of course, the stucco, it's still here. The stucco work was not done by Andrea Leti, but look, all these faces, decorations, it's still here. It's more than 150 years old, almost 200 years old. And there used to be the glass ceiling, which was the innovation of definitely later period of the 19th century. It added a lot more light, natural light, because it was still, uh, there was still several decades before electricity would arrive to Tiflis. So light was extremely important. So I'm happy I've been able to take you to this foyer, and the kitty is definitely enjoying its time. Hi, kitty. Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh, lovely. This is for Charlie and Rosie, Barbara. I'm not sure if they would have gotten along. And Andrea Leti was so rich and popular. Well, that he definitely lived his best life in Tiflis or Tbilisi. I want to show you something. I have my second phone, but only one hand. Yeah. So I showed it to you last time, but look how happy he is. So he was well off. His business took off very quickly because he was very good at what he was doing, all the mosaic and stonework. Look, just a playboy. Okay, well I promised you Art Nouveau, so here we go. We're gonna be seeing a lot of Art Nouveau, and not only since this is the main avenue and all the shops. So these are the turn of the 20th century shopping centers. And we can clearly see that this is the Art Nouveau period because you can see big metal windows. So now the second floor is not occupied by any. Yeah, Andy, I know. I know Andrea it was good. I know that. And you see, well, I mean, now there is nothing going on in the second floor, unfortunately, but you can still see big windows, metal construction, and thank you, Barbara. And look at this. So the flat roof. So flat roofs would be mostly used exactly in the Art Nouveau period with all those innovations, with all these drainage systems. It was all possible thanks to the numerous innovations done exactly at that period, and there are multiple levels. So this is definitely Art Nouveau, and this is definitely about trade because you see Mercury over there. You can't see, but he has little wings on the helmet. So this is exactly the attribute of Mercury, so god of trade. And yeah, so this is about money spending and money making. That's exactly what I've been doing today. So some shoe shopping. Well, and it's still a shopping place, but there's more. Look, another work of art, another Art Nouveau example, and this is definitely one of my favorite. It's also just a passage, a shopping center that boasted and still boasts all the achievements. You see this. These window frames, they were not possible. They were absolutely impossible to make before the new kinds of metal would come, and of course all these smooth lines. Look at all these Loreleis. Look at all these ladies' heads. Andy, thank you so much for the coffee. So all these smooth lines, the bells, the bell shaped lamps, all these decorations, laconic and just gorgeous. And so what they did, it was very clever actually to save space. And the building would be quite narrow, but it would go deep into the quarter. So it was a passage that was very convenient. And well, just next to those super expensive, nice and top notch back then, top notch shopping malls. Well, of course, it was also residential area. You'll find a lot of uh, profit houses or tenant houses, right? It's the same thing. We've been talking about it all the time. And this is exactly the example of those profit house or tenant house. And I remind you, these were private property. So, just like now, the best investment is exactly the property investment. And whenever someone had money, whenever merchant had enough money, they would prefer to invest it in the property. They would buy a plot of land and they would build a house there, but not just to live there on by themselves, but also to make money of it. And that's why they would build with at least two, but mostly three, sometimes even four floors, and there would be plenty of apartments for rent. But normally, we can easily say where the master's apartment was. The more beautiful, the more ornate, I would say, the most, I would say, luxurious and opulent in decoration. So that floor would be exactly the floor where the master's apartment was. And this is definitely it. This floor, we know it belonged to a merchant that supplied fish and different seafood, even um, even to the table of the emperor, and everywhere. We even know his name, but not more than that. So Abbasov was his last name, CSA. So this is just the initials of his name, and we know when it was built. It was built in 1904, and the commissioner and definitely the architect, they outdid themselves. This is not exactly this is not exactly the Art Nouveau. This is the eclecticism. So this building, it was still, I would say, a little bit cheaper in construction than these ones, obviously. So eclecticism was the period when, well, I would say it was a transition period. It was not about saving the money, but it was still, trying to, I would say, just combine, all the previous achievements and the some, I would say, new ideas and innovations, and hence we have this. You see those beautiful ladies, the caryatids, and also over there above the entrance. And I'm gonna have to be walking back and forth. Sorry, sorry for it. Let me zoom it in. You have the mermaids, and these mermaids are actually holding, they're holding the kind of the porch. So this is the entrance, the main entrance. Okay, so I got disconnected. Please let me know if I'm back. I hope I am. Could I zoom in the ladies again? Yes, I had to leave the spot because I lost you there. There you go. There you go. These are the ladies. Am I back? Something's happening here. Maybe those ladies don't like me to film them. Maybe they are a bit shy. No ideas. Okay, well I'm back. It's good to be back. So we have one more, definitely Art Nouveau. This building looks very different, and I actually I first thought that the house was modern. It was built even in like 2000s, but actually no, it was built in around 1910. Well, at least not earlier. Look at this ironwork. Uh, Look at again the size of the windows, the balconies, and also the internal, I would say the layout of the rooms was quite special. It was only possible thanks to the metal supporting frames, because before that, have you ever wondered why all these 19th century, 18th century architecture has this enfilade rooms when like one room is connected to the other, like connective rooms? Have you ever wondered? Well, that's because they didn't, because they could not build it any other way, because they didn't have strong enough supporting frames. They only had some constructions, but not the whole. I would say the whole. Okay, not sure what's going on. Thank you so much for staying with me. No idea what's happening. Are you still with me? I'm terribly sorry for the connection, but it looks like the moment I stop, it disconnects. So I will not stop. So let me step a little bit further into the quarter. That's what I thought. So yeah, that's probably why I should be moving all the time. So let me see if I can show you. Okay, well, I can show at least some bits of it, and then we will cross and we will see some more. So look at this. This building, it is now the the children's theater, but it used to be, well, it was constructed in the early 20th century, obviously. Look at this architecture. And it was the cinema, one of more than 20 cinemas that existed in Tbilisi, just in one town. Can you imagine? More than 20. Yeah, I think from here you can see it better. And look, it's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful place, and I'm so happy that it wasn't turned into any ministry building. It wasn't turned into so many people out. And I'm not sure, but yeah, well, I'll try to move because I don't want to lose you. I will try, and I want to show you something. So this theater, like a children's drama theater, is named after Nadar Dumbadze, who was a playwright, who was a writer, also like children's literature. Nadar Dumbadze, and well, this is his portrait on a stamp, which meant a lot. And they're quite, I would say, they're proud of the history of the theater, and I've been able to find, the old photos of the actors, different playing different roles in different children's plays. And I would say, in general, this area is full of theaters, is full of educational facilities. Some art-related educational facilities. We will see that, but not only that. So we know of business centers, we know of shopping centers. Sorry, we know of some residential buildings, and of course, hotels. Look at that. So this used to be, well, now you see the building is abandoned and just basically left at the mercy of, I'm not even sure what, definitely left behind. Maybe they're just waiting for the, I don't know, for the miracle to happen. But this building, and we will cross and come closer, and I will show you more details. So it used to be five-star hotel. Look, well, it was constructed in late 19th century, and it belonged to Wetzel, Joseph Wetzel, German, right? So this is not the only German name I will be mentioning today. Wetzel, actually, it was like Wetzel family, and all of them, well, they had their fingers in many pies. They also had beer company. They also had pharmacies. I mentioned that there would be a lot of pharmacies run by Germans, and this is exactly one of those examples. And Wetzel Hotel was super luxurious. I would say even six-star probably, because it, like, really, five-star hotels, many five-star hotels couldn't compete with with Wetzel. And I will show you some photos. Just give me a minute. Okay. So this is the photo taken in early 1900s. The Wetzel Hotel. Look at the porch. It looks like a Ritz, honestly. And this is just one photo, but there are a lot more. And of course, many, or this, look, this is the advertising from a newspaper. So the first class hotel Wetzel on Mihailovsky Avenue, Hotel Wetzel. It's written in German. Well, because it was run by Germans, and of course there were many travelers, because you remember I mentioned that Tbilisi was the big trade center and the transport hub in general. It was at the crossroads of several trade routes that would be used throughout centuries. So this was exactly one of those hotels, one of the best, definitely the best. It had elevators, of course, a bit later than I would say. This was one of the first buildings electrified on the avenue. A bit later, then they had a swimming pool. They had bowling alleys. They had everything. They had dumb waiters. So you can imagine. And the Tbilisi actually had, well, I would say at least 20 hotels that we know of now. But now I'm crossing the street and I'm doing the Georgian way. I'm doing it the Georgian way. So you just go. I would say pan face and go. Look at this gentleman. So they are my good old friends now, because the moment I found them, I just couldn't forget how gorgeous they are. I mean, yeah, they definitely have some back problems, but and you can imagine that these guys definitely used to hold some lights. Well, not anymore. The ironwork is still here. So I'm very sorry that the building is in such a bad condition. Very bad. Please let me know if I'm still here and the chat is working. Oops. And here I am. Oh, I could you do me a favor? So could you please take that screenshot with me and my good old friends? Very old. Thank you so much in advance. Thank you. Good. Very good. Oh, the sun is merciless. Okay, so let's move on. Bye bye, dears. You're so good. I hope someone's gonna give you some very nice massage at some point and also clean you. It's really breaks my heart that this fantastic building is in such a bad condition. But also, I remind you that Georgia just only recently got down to, I would say, really extensive restoration of its buildings and art objects. That's basically because after the collapse of the Soviet Union, which Georgia was obviously part of, uh, well, Georgia went through a civil war in early 1990s, and I would say very stormy years afterwards. So I'm, I, I understand that it was not easy. And just honestly, a minute away, so you just basically need to turn into an alley. There is a secret that most tourists and hundreds and thousands of international students normally miss. Dolly, don't jinx it, please. I don't want to jinx it. There is a nice garden. It's so quiet here. You can't hear the noise of the cars. I can't hear anything. You just enjoy all the green. And it looks like you are in a park. So actually, you are in a park. There's nothing impressive here now, apart from some flowers. Just a playground and, well, the fountain that's not working at the moment. I'm not sure when the last time it worked. Maybe in the Soviet times. Not sure. But actually, this used to be a lovely, very beautiful park. Let me show you. And it belonged to aristocratic art society. Look, there used to be a stage, like a small park stage, and some pavilions. Also, you see ornate terraces. Let me show you some more. So that's another stage. Also, and I think there's yeah. Okay, so this small park or square, I'm not even sure. Well, right now you can see some buildings, but even if they were built back then, they have been extensively uh, rebuilt and changed with time. That's for sure. But it was a small garden that was all that was well, the plot of land was purchased for the society by very rich uh, and kind man, Isai Pitoyev. This is his portrait. This is Isai. Thank you so much. Thank you for the tips, PayPals and coffees. So this is Isai Pitoyev, and I have the not colorized, the original photo from the newspaper Tifliski Listok, like a Tiflis leaflet. So Isai Pitoyev, he was from a very rich family that also had many fingers in their pies. Normally in Georgia, in Tiflis back then, there would be more Germans or Armenians that would be, I would say, the most well off, the most successful. They were also Jews, but some of those Jews were also coming from Armenia. Um, but today, if you remember, I will be also taking you with virtual tours to Sololaki, another neighborhood, and I'll be showing you some new locations as well because I hate to repeat my tours. Uh, well, I mean, I hate to show one of the same thing all the time, so I will be showing you something else and sharing more stories. So in Sololaki, it was mostly Armenians that owned the most expensive houses, and also Jewish. But in this area, it's mostly Germans. Later on in the Soviet times, this was turned into basically just a you know public park, and you cannot find those beautiful stages anymore and pavilions. But Isai Petoyev was not only about making money, but also creating something beautiful. His wife was an actress, and she dreamt to have a theater, or she dreamt to have you know a good opera house in Tiflis. And Isai Petoyev, he loved his wife so much that he made it possible. He invested loads of money into actually building an opera house. And this is exactly the opera house in the Rustaveli Avenue that I showed once, but I will be taking you to Rustaveli Avenue again. So seems like, well, the protests are over. I mean, it's not good because, well, it's gonna have its repercussions, but well, we can now have tours there at least, so let's use an opportunity. So I will be taking you to Rusta Valley Avenue, and you will see this building, the beautiful opera house in the Moorish style. So Isan Petoyev was the biggest donor for this building. Well, this aristocratic artistic society was had performances, different events held here. In the Soviet times, of course, things changed, and it was just, as I said, just a public garden. But there's something else here. The moment I saw this statue, I don't know, it just I didn't know who it was about. I had no idea, but there's a very powerful story actually, and it definitely has nothing to do with I would say those um, aristocratic events held here. This monument was placed here in the late Soviet period, post-war period, and as you know, the war didn't make it here, luckily, but of course um, many Georgians served in the army and volunteered. There was one, Zoya Ruhadze, and that monument was the monument of Zoya Ruhadze. She was from a Georgian family that lived in the Crimea region, Zoya Ruhadze. And at that time, well, Simferopol region was in the war times. It was besieged by the Nazis, and we are now leaving the park to again find ourselves in the noisy but beautiful Agmashenebeli Avenue. And as I'm going, I'll tell you the story of Zoya. So, under occupation, Zoya worked at a restaurant as a waitress, and she looked as a very well. She looked very local, thanks to her dark hair. Well, she was Georgian, and she just basically looked like any representative of the Tatar population back then. So there were a lot of Tatars living, and some Tatars collaborated with the Nazis, and she worked as a spy. So she was hired by the special security, and she spied. She would be basically eavesdropping on the talks, between the collaborating Tatars and the Nazi officers, and she would be then passing on this obtained information to the Soviet army. Eventually, she was caught by the Nazis and tortured to death. So it was, and it definitely it was a strange feeling, to be at a beautiful park and then hear the story and see that monument of a woman, uh, wearing it's just wearing chains. This was Yeah, that was definitely challenging times. But we continue. So obviously, you see, we have a lot more beautiful buildings, but these buildings on that side of the street, I will be showing you in the further episodes. Now, I would like to show you this building. Actually, there are no cars here, so that's easy to cross. I mean, I'm getting the hang of it. You know, it's getting less and less difficult for me to cross the roads in the inappropriate places. I'm getting more Georgian here, I would say. Look at this nice tiny building compared to those. Well, the other ones we have just seen, or the other ones we are going to see a little bit of today. This looks different. So this is definitely one of the first buildings constructed in that mid 19th century, and it was built by the Germans. And it actually actually only had one floor back then, and it was meant for trade. Basically, it was this very old shopping malls, like a bazaar, but covered, a bit more civilized, kind of in a German way. And as I'm going to be, taking you crossing the street again, if I'm lucky enough, because all of a sudden there are a lot more cars in the street, but I would like to try to cross it. The second floor was added later, and the building luckily was restored. So I'm going to try to cross it again. Yay! Very good. I think I'm mastering jaywalking. So if I take you into the alley, you will see that actually all these are separate entrances to different shops. And now it's also offices. There's a travel company, notary office. There's something else here. And it even has still that wooden steps, well restored. Oh, they have a tattoo studio here. I'm not gonna have a tattoo. I already have the shoes. I think that's enough. Ooh. And again, so the moment you turn away, turn into an alley, and you leave those beautiful facades behind, you see this, and I have no idea what this is. Is it? What is that? It doesn't look like. These are not figs. These are not citrus. I don't know. And they don't look like dates to me. I have no idea what this is. And there's no one to ask also. Oh, does anyone know what this is? So the moment you turn away from those beautiful facades into a backyard, you actually see Tiflis, right? With all those balconies, the terraces. That's exactly that's that's exactly it. And every courtyard would, of course, have a water source, a well. And it's, by the way, I think it's still functioning because yeah, you can see it's a bit watery here. It's a bit, yeah, I can see some moisture over there, so it's still functioning. There's another kitty. Hi, kitty. Hello. So I'm collecting kitties today. Hi there. Hi there. Well, and you see, these are the grape. This is the grapevine. Well, it's like wild grapes, I think, over there. Just charming. Just charming. Yes, totally. Well, you have not jinxed it. Very well. So this alley is definitely a time travel, little tiny time travel, and this would be the entrance for. Also, the archway would be the proper entrance, for, well, for horses, for carriages, and later on cars, of course, but not at that point. Let's move on. We still have some time, and you can see that the avenue still stretches all the way for about another half a mile, and you can see that the buildings here are, well, just one better than the other. Look, so we will be talking more and more about them. So we're gonna have some more episodes of the Agmashenebeli Avenue, and let me introduce you to some other friends. There you go. That's a line I know, and the atlases I've I've become friends with. I mean, they're bored, so they definitely could do some conversation, some chit chat. Never hurts, right? So we are here. We're gonna see their friends, and then I'm gonna cross the street to show this building to you, and also the next one from a distance, because otherwise you don't really see anything. Oh yeah. And by the way, now it's a police station, so I don't want to be filming too much. Yeah. Oh, 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 these shoes are so comfortable. I mean, they definitely worth the money. I hope the soles don't fall off. Uh, at least in another couple of months. Okay, let me move a bit backwards. So, look at these two buildings. They were built by one and the same architect, actually. And guess who the architect was from? I mean, he was from Tbilisi, but of course he was from Germans. And you may remember the church, the Catholic church we saw in the previous episode. And you may remember Albert Salzmann. So Albert Salzmann, the German architect, he is one of those German architects who basically shaped the face of the avenue. And not only avenue, I would say the entire like Noite place and big part of Chughureti neighborhood. And this house was a tenant house, and well, just to carry on making more money. And this is the house where he lived. He built a house for himself. And again, it wasn't used just by himself, it was also a tenant house. So it's a business, and well, killing two birds with one stone, business and living. And yes, this is where he lived. So he got himself the best floor, the best penthouse, definitely, over there. So there on the facade, you see 1904. This is when that building was built. And the two was built approximately at one and the same time. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. And I think this is where actually I'm going to wrap this up because I have some announcement to make. Well, first of all, as you know, my tours are tip supported. They're free to join and they're tip supported. So I would appreciate your support. And well, this is research. This is many sleepless nights. And I'm so happy to share what I find with you. And when it gets to research, actually, Misha, my husband, I'm not sure if he's still around. He normally gets too bored watching my tour. So he just, it is. What can I say? He normally switches off very quickly. And but Mamisha and I are launching the new series of tours. They're gonna be basically, I would say, kind of overviews of the Soviet history. So we're starting from 1920s, and we're gonna be taking like I would say, dozen of years with every tour. So this Sunday, tomorrow, is gonna be in 19. Well, let me show you. It looks nicer from here. So if I take you a bit deeper into the alley, you see the whole building. Very nice. So tomorrow, Misha and I are premiering the first episode of the Soviet history. And when I say that, of course, it doesn't mean that by doing this tour we support and we approve of the Soviet history. I mean, and everything that happened. Of course not. We are trying to analyze it because I've been recently slammed by some people, telling me why on earth I do tours about the Soviet Union. So because it's a research, because it's history that we should learn from. But I know we never will. But I'm still a dreamer, I would say. And also, I carry on with my tours on the Israel Museum. Let me show myself again. So Israel Museum Archaeology Wing. Tomorrow is the second episode, and I carry on no matter what with my tours on the Russian Museum. And we're going to be talking about some artists of early 20th century, interesting ones. And again, it doesn't. It's not because I I support the current regime. It's not about that. Please let me know if you're still around. I'm not sure if the chat is even working. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. And the next episode for oh, thank you, Dolly. In 90 minutes from now, I'm taking you to Solo Lucky for well for the episode that I'll be making it up for the rainy tour that took place about a month ago. Yay! Thank you, Ronaldin. Thank you, everyone. And there is something very important. Just the last bit. Exactly. Well, in a week from now, on Sunday, 16th of June, I'm doing a very special tour, a virtual tour, a live tour at an apartment in Sololaki, 19th century apartment with 19th century interiors, and representative of a family that's been living in one and the same apartment since 19th century, late 19th century. This woman, will be given a tour for us. And I will be translating like in good old times, in good old days in St. Petersburg. So we're going to be talking about some family history. We're going to see antique furniture, original interiors, and hear the stories, of the 19th century, of the turmoils of the 20th century. So Marina's going to be telling us all of it. So I hope you will enjoy it. And on my website, hi Marilyn, you're late, but you will catch up later, of course, because I will be keeping this in open access. So don't worry. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kathleen, for the PayPal. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. So on my website, annayaguide.com, you can find my complete schedule. Right now, I'm doing, I think, 6 tours per weekend. On Monday, I'm doing the second episode of the Yelagan Palace, another Roman of residence. I have never taken you before. And please, if you're not following me on Instagram and Facebook, please do, because I am trying to work on my socials, and I've been doing some reels, with some quality content. And if you're interested in the history of Romanovs, so there's one about the interesting connections. I'm now studying the connections between Georgia and the Holy Land, Georgia and the Russian Empire. And there are interesting connections outside of that framework as well. So this is it for today. I hope next time the connection will be better. Thank you, Ronaldin. So I hope you found it interesting, and I hope you will. Oh, there's so many more stories to share, and so many more beautiful buildings to show. So annayaguide.com is my website. Thank you so much for your coffees. So buymeacoffee.com/Anna Anna Living a Guide. My PayPal. So the links you have in the pinned message, and I'll see you in less than 90 minutes for a tour in Sololaki. Thank you so much for joining. So this is going to be available shortly in open access. Thank you. And thank you, Oliver Daltzman, for all these beautiful works. We'll see more next time. Bye bye.